Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! It arrived on his doorstep. An unassuming box wrapped with the enthusiasm of a 5-year-old on a sugar rush. Franco Martinez eyed the package with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The wrapping paper, a riot of colors, clashed against the sleek, modern aesthetic of his living room. In the center, a bright yellow Post-it note screamed for attention. As he leaned forward, the morning light caught his brown stubble, casting a shadow across his concerned expression. The message on the note was from his best friend, Dom, who had a peculiar taste in gifts and a talent for surprises. "Happy 25th, dude! An adventure awaits," it read, making Franco wonder what sort of eccentric present lay hidden within. Dominic had always been one for elaborate pranks, especially on birthdays. Last year it had been a subscription to a seniors dating service. The year before, a custom t-shirt with Franco's most embarrassing college photo emblazoned across the front. "What is it this time?" Franco muttered, tugging at his navy blue sweater as he sat down on the worn leather couch. Carefully, he peeled back the wrapping paper, half expecting something to jump out at him. Instead, he found himself looking at an expensive makeup kit, the kind with dozens of eyeshadow colors, various brushes, and products he couldn't even name. Franco snorted. "Very funny, Dom." He picked up his phone to text his friend, but paused. Dominic would be expecting an immediate reaction, outrage, confusion, or at least a sarcastic thank you. Instead, Franco placed the kit back in the box and slid it under the coffee table. Let Dom wait. The rest of the day passed with the usual birthday rituals. Calls from his parents, a video chat with his sister in Seattle, and a string of text messages from friends. By evening, Franco found himself alone in his apartment with a bottle of whiskey and a marathon of sci-fi movies he'd seen a dozen times before. 3 drinks in, his eyes kept drifting to the box under the coffee table. 4 drinks in, he pulled it out again. "What the hell?" he murmured, opening the kit. The contents were surprisingly high-end, not the cheap Halloween makeup he'd expected. This had cost Dom a decent amount of money for a joke. Franco carried the kit to the bathroom, setting it on the counter. The mirror reflected his slightly flushed face, the day's stubble, and the curious gleam in his eyes. He opened YouTube on his phone and typed, "Beginner makeup tutorial." "This is ridiculous," he told his reflection, but didn't stop the video. The first attempt was disastrous. Eyeshadow everywhere but his eyelids, foundation too dark for his skin tone. Franco washed it all off, laughing at himself. But something about the challenge intrigued him. He'd always been good with his hands, detail-oriented in his work as an architectural designer. Surely he could figure this out. The second attempt went better. He followed the tutorial step by step, carefully blending a shimmering blue eyeshadow across his lids, adding a touch of pink in the crease. When he finally stepped back to look at the results, his breath caught. The person in the mirror wasn't quite Franco anymore. The makeup softened his features, highlighted his eyes, made him look different. Not like a man in makeup, like someone else entirely. A strange feeling settled in his chest. Not discomfort, but recognition. As if he'd glimpsed something that had always been there, waiting to be discovered. Franco quickly washed off the makeup, buried the kit in his bathroom cabinet, and tried to forget about it. But he couldn't. 3 days later, alone in his apartment after work, the kit came out again. This time he tried a softer look, neutral browns and taupes. The results were subtle, but transformative. He found himself taking a selfie, then immediately deleting it in a moment of panic. What was he doing? The kit should have gone in the trash. Instead, it became a secret habit. Nights alone turned into experiments with contouring, highlighting, different eyeshadow techniques. Franco told himself it was just curiosity, just the challenge of mastering a new skill. Then came the day he ordered the wig. It arrived in discreet packaging, a medium-length brown wig with soft waves that matched his natural color. Franco told himself it was just an extension of the experiment, nothing more. The first time he put it on, along with a full face of makeup, he stood in front of the mirror for nearly an hour, turning his head to different angles, watching how the hair moved, how it framed his face.
"Hello,"
he whispered to his reflection, and the woman in the mirror smiled back. Within weeks, the collection grew. A second wig, longer with subtle highlights, clip-on earrings, a plain black skirt ordered online, a burgundy blouse, each item carefully hidden in a locked suitcase in the back of his closet. 2 months after his birthday, Franco found himself standing in his bedroom on a Friday night, fully transformed. Brown hair cascading past his shoulders, eyes enhanced with subtle makeup, wearing a dark green dress that hugged his slim frame. He'd padded the chest, learned to tuck, watched countless videos on feminine movement and voice training. The woman in the mirror was beautiful.
"Jasmine,"
he whispered, trying the name that had come to him nights ago. It felt right in a way nothing else ever had. That night, Jasmine took her first selfie and didn't delete it. The truth, when Franco finally admitted it to himself, wasn't that he enjoyed dressing up as a woman. The truth was that he'd never felt comfortable as a man. The makeup and clothes weren't a disguise. They were revealing who he'd always been, beneath the surface. Jasmine. The decision to tell someone wasn't made lightly. Franco had known Dominic since college, trusted him more than anyone. Still, sitting in Dom's living room, words stuck in his throat.
"Remember that birthday gift you gave me? The makeup kit?"
Dominic laughed, handing Franco a beer.
"Man, your face when you opened that? Classic. Didn't think you'd even keep it." "I did more than keep it."
Franco's voice was quiet, his fingers tight around the bottle. He wore his usual jeans and a gray button-down shirt, his hair short, no trace of makeup.
"I've been using it."
Dominic's smile faltered.
"What, like for Halloween or something?" "No."
Franco took a deep breath.
"I've been using it regularly. And I've bought clothes, wigs."
Another breath. "Dom, I think I'm transgender." The silence stretched between them, endless and terrifying. Then Dominic set down his beer.
"Show me."
"What?" "I want to see. Not because I don't believe you, but because I want to know who my best friend really is." Hours later, Jasmine stood in Dominic's living room, wearing a navy blue dress, brown hair falling in soft waves, makeup subtle, but effective. Dominic circled her, eyes wide.
"Holy shit,"
he breathed. "You're beautiful." Tears welled in Jasmine's eyes. "You're not? Freaked out?" "Surprised, yeah. But freaked out?"
"No."
Dominic grinned.
"Though I am taking full credit for this. Best birthday gift ever, clearly."
That night marked the beginning of Jasmine's real life. With Dominic's support, she began the careful process of transition. First, therapy sessions to work through her feelings. Then, starting to live as Jasmine at home full-time. The brown wig became her signature look, though she began growing out her natural hair underneath. She developed a style that favored floral sundresses and cardigans, comfortable yet feminine. Her makeup skills improved until the routine became second nature. Coming out at work was terrifying, but necessary. Franco had been respected as an architectural designer, but would Jasmine be treated the same? She prepared a careful email to her supervisor, explaining the situation and requesting a meeting. Richard, her boss, was a man in his 50s with traditional values but a surprisingly progressive mindset. He listened carefully as Jasmine explained her transition.
"So," he said when she finished, "you'll need your email and nameplate changed, and the HR forms updated."
He made notes on a pad.
"Anything else?"
Jasmine blinked. "That's it? You're not concerned about clients or—" Richard looked up, his expression serious.
Jasmine, you're one of my best designers. Your work speaks for itself. As for clients," he shrugged, "anyone who can't respect you isn't someone we want to work with anyway."
Not everyone was as accepting. Some coworkers became awkward, avoiding her. A few clients requested different designers. Her parents struggled with the news, her father refusing to use her new name at first. But for every setback, there were surprises. Like her conservative uncle who simply said, "About time you figured it out, kid. I always knew something was up." 6 months into her transition, Jasmine sat at her vanity, applying her morning makeup. The brown hair that framed her face was now mostly her own. The wig needed only for length. Her hands moved with practiced ease, contouring her features, applying mascara to lengthen her lashes. The woman in the mirror smiled back, no longer a stranger but her authentic self. Her phone buzzed with a text from Dominic. "Brunch at 11? Bringing someone I want you to meet." Jasmine arrived at the cafe wearing a yellow sundress with tiny white flowers, a light cardigan protecting against the morning chill. Her brown hair was pulled back in a loose ponytail, her makeup natural but flawless. She spotted Dominic at an outdoor table, accompanied by a tall man with kind eyes. "Jasmine!" Dominic waved her over. "This is Mark. Mark, this is Jasmine, the friend I told you about." Mark stood, offering his hand. "Dominic's been singing your praises. Apparently you're the only person who's ever beaten him at chess." "He exaggerates," Jasmine laughed, sliding into her seat. "I've beaten him exactly once, and he claims he was distracted."
"By your incredible strategic mind,"
Dominic protested.
"Also, I might have been slightly drunk."
The conversation flowed easily. Mark was an environmental lawyer, passionate about his work, but self-deprecating about his tendency to get too technical. He asked Jasmine about her architectural designs, listened intently to her explanation of sustainable building practices. When Dominic excused himself to take a call, a brief silence fell between them.
"So,"
Mark said carefully,
"Dom mentioned you're transgender."
Jasmine tensed. "Yes."
"I just wanted to say, I think that takes incredible courage. Being your authentic self, especially when the world doesn't always make it easy."
The tension melted from her shoulders. "Thank you. It hasn't always been easy,
but it's been worth it."
Mark smiled.
"I can see that. You have this glow about you, like someone who's finally found their place in the world."
When Dominic returned, he found them deep in conversation about a documentary series they'd both loved. He sat back, watching his two friends with a satisfied smile. Later, walking home, Jasmine realized she hadn't once thought about her voice, her mannerisms, or whether she was passing during brunch. For 3 hours, she'd simply been herself. Jasmine, a woman enjoying conversation with interesting people. That evening, she called Dominic. "You could have warned me you were setting me up," she said without preamble. "Would you have come if I had?" Jasmine considered this. Dating had seemed like an impossibility during her transition. "Probably not." "Exactly. And, did you like him?" "He's nice," she admitted. "Smart. Funny in a quiet way." "He asked for your number." Jasmine felt her heart skip. "What did you say?" "That you're a grown woman who can give out her own number if she wants to." She laughed. "Thanks for that, and thanks for introducing us, even if you were being sneaky about it." "What are best friends for? Besides, I'm collecting best man offers. You're up to 3 now." 2 days later, Mark texted. They arranged coffee, which turned into dinner the following week, which became regular dates. Mark was patient, never pushing for physical intimacy before Jasmine was ready. He asked questions about her transition when appropriate, but never made it the focus of their relationship. On their 5th date, walking through a park as evening fell, he took her hand. "I want you to know something," he said. "I see you, Jasmine, not who you were before, not some category or label, just you." Jasmine squeezed his hand, unable to speak through the tightness in her throat. That night, she let him kiss her for the first time. Life settled into new patterns. Work flourished. Jasmine's design for a community arts center won a regional award. Her relationship with Mark deepened. Her parents, after initial struggles, made sincere efforts to understand, her mother even accompanying her to shop for new clothes. The 1-year anniversary of her transition arrived on a crisp October day. Jasmine celebrated by hosting a small dinner party. Dominic and his new boyfriend Mark, 2 supportive coworkers, and her sister who'd flown in from Seattle. Standing in her kitchen, arranging appetizers while her guests chatted in the living room, Jasmine caught sight of her reflection in the window. She wore a deep purple dress that complemented her brown hair, now falling past her shoulders naturally. Her makeup was perfect, her posture confident. The woman in the reflection smiled, recognizing herself completely. Mark appeared behind her, slipping his arms around her waist. "Need any help?" "I'm good." She turned in his embrace. "Just having a moment." "A good moment?" "The best kind." She kissed him lightly. "A year ago, I never could have imagined this life. Being myself, surrounded by people who love me for who I am." Mark tucked a strand of brown hair behind her ear. "You made it happen. Your courage, your determination." "With a little help from a makeup kit." She laughed. "Speaking of which," Mark reached into his pocket. "I have something for you. An anniversary gift." He handed her a small box. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant, a tiny palette with a rainbow of colors.
"To remember where your journey began," he explained, "even as you continue forward."
Jasmine let him fasten it around her neck, the pendant resting just below her collarbone. "It's perfect," she whispered, touching it gently. The dinner was a success. Good food, better conversation, and laughter that filled her apartment. When everyone had gone except Mark, Jasmine kicked off her heels and curled beside him on the couch.
"Happy anniversary,"
he murmured, stroking her hair. "You know what I realized tonight?" Jasmine said. "I can't remember the last time I thought of myself as Franco. That person feels like someone I used to know, not who I was." Because you've always been Jasmine. You just needed time to find her. She rested her head on his shoulder, feeling the weight of the pendant against her skin. I think you're right. The transition hadn't been perfect. There were still difficult days, moments of dysphoria, encounters with prejudice, paperwork nightmares. But those challenges no longer defined her experience. They were simply obstacles to navigate on a journey that felt increasingly certain. 6 months later, Jasmine stood in front of her bathroom mirror, preparing for another workday. Her brown hair was styled in loose waves, her makeup subtle but effective. She wore a teal blouse that brought out the warmth in her eyes, paired with a black pencil skirt. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mark. Dinner tonight at 7? I made reservations at that new place you mentioned. Jasmine smiled, typing back a quick confirmation before slipping the phone into her purse. Their relationship had deepened over the past months, becoming something solid and true. Mark had moved in 3 months ago, their lives merging with surprising ease. At work, Jasmine had been promoted to lead designer, responsible for a team of 4. Her current project, a sustainable residential complex, had attracted attention from industry publications. The morning passed quickly in meetings and design reviews. During lunch, she met her friend Elena, a graphic designer she'd connected with through a support group for transgender women. You look fantastic, Elena said as they sat at their usual cafe. That color is perfect on you. Thanks. Jasmine smoothed her blouse. Mark picked it out, actually. He has a surprisingly good eye for these things. Elena smiled knowingly. Things are good with him, then? Really good. Jasmine couldn't keep the happiness from her voice. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, for something to go wrong. Maybe nothing will. Elena stirred her iced tea. Maybe you just get to be happy, Jazz. You deserve it. Jasmine touched the palette pendant she still wore daily. It's strange. Sometimes I almost forget there was a before, that I ever lived differently. That's how it should be, Elena said softly. The past informs us, but it doesn't define us. The afternoon brought a surprise. An email from a high-profile client requesting Jasmine specifically for their new project. The message mentioned having seen her work at a recent exhibition and being impressed by her innovative approach. No mention of her being transgender. No qualification that she was a talented transgender architect. Just recognition of her work on its own merits. Jasmine printed the email, tucking it into her notebook. Another milestone, another confirmation that she was on the right path. The evening with Mark was perfect. An elegant restaurant, candlelight, conversation that flowed effortlessly between them. After dinner, they walked along the riverfront, the city lights reflecting on the water. I have something to ask you, Mark said, stopping at a small viewing platform overlooking the river. Jasmine turned to him, noting the nervous energy in his movements.
What is it?
He took her hands in his.
This past year with you has been the best of my life. You're the most authentic, courageous person I've ever known.
Jasmine felt her heart accelerate as Mark dropped to one knee, pulling a small box from his pocket.
Jasmine Martinez, will you marry me?
The ring inside was simple and elegant, a solitaire diamond in a rose gold setting. Jasmine's vision blurred with tears as she nodded. Yes, she managed, her voice thick with emotion. Yes, absolutely yes. Mark slipped the ring onto her finger, then stood to kiss her, lifting her slightly off her feet in his enthusiasm. Passers-by applauded. Someone called out congratulations. Later that night, lying beside Mark in bed, Jasmine studied the ring on her hand, watching how it caught the moonlight from the window.
"What are you thinking?"
Mark asked, stroking her brown hair spread across the pillow. "About journeys," she said. "How sometimes they take you exactly where you need to go, even when you don't know that's where you're headed." He kissed her forehead. "Like a makeup kit leading to a fiancé?" She laughed. "Exactly like that." The wedding planning began immediately with an unexpected ally in Jasmine's mother, who threw herself into the details with enthusiasm. It became an opportunity for healing. Conversations about Jasmine's childhood, acknowledgement of missed signs, expressions of regret and forgiveness. "I always wondered why you never seemed comfortable in formal wear," her mother said one day as they reviewed reception venues. "Those awful suits we made you wear to family weddings. You looked so uncomfortable." "Funny how that works out," Jasmine replied with a small smile. "Now I can't wait to wear the most formal thing possible." The dress shopping expedition was emotional. Jasmine, her mother, her sister, and Elena spent a Saturday visiting boutiques until they found it. An A-line gown with delicate lace sleeves and subtle beading. When Jasmine stepped out of the dressing room, her mother burst into tears. "You're beautiful," she whispered, embracing her daughter. "So beautiful." Work continued to flourish. Jasmine's residential complex project was completed to acclaim, leading to more high-profile commissions. She was invited to speak at a conference on sustainable design, where her presentation received a standing ovation. The woman who approached her afterward was older, distinguished, with silver streaks in her dark hair. "Brilliant work," she said, shaking Jasmine's hand. "I've been following your career with interest." "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Dr. Harrison." Jasmine recognized her as a leading figure in architectural theory. "I'm putting together a book on emerging voices in sustainable design. I'd like to feature your work prominently." Jasmine blinked in surprise. "I'd be honored." Dr. Harrison smiled. "Excellent. And I'd love to hear more about your journey as a transgender woman in this field, if you're comfortable sharing. Representation matters, especially for the next generation." For the first time, being identified as transgender felt like an additional honor rather than a qualification or limitation. Jasmine agreed immediately. The wedding day arrived on a perfect spring morning. Jasmine stood in the bridal suite of a historic hotel, her brown hair arranged in an elegant updo with tiny white flowers woven throughout. Her makeup was flawless, natural but enhancing her features. The white gown fit perfectly, making her feel more beautiful than she'd ever imagined possible. A knock at the door preceded Dominic's entrance. He stopped, his hand going to his heart. "Oh, Jazz," he breathed. "You're stunning." "Don't make me cry and ruin this makeup," she warned, but her voice wavered. Dominic approached, adjusting the delicate veil. "Remember when you first showed me who you really were? Standing in my living room, terrified but so brave?" "I remember you saying I was beautiful." "And I was right." He stepped back to admire her. "But this? This is something else entirely. This is radiance." Her father arrived to walk her down the aisle, his eyes widening when he saw her. The man who had struggled most with her transition now looked at her with undisguised pride. "My daughter," he said simply, offering his arm. The ceremony was everything Jasmine had dreamed. Standing before family and friends, exchanging vows with Mark, she felt complete. The kiss they shared as newlyweds was met with cheers and applause. At the reception, after dinner and toasts, Jasmine found a moment alone with Dominic at the bar. "I never properly thanked you," she said. "For what? Being the best man? I told you I was collecting offers." She laughed. "For the makeup kit. The birthday gift that changed everything." Dominic's expression grew serious.
"Can I tell you something? It wasn't a joke or a prank."
"What do you mean?"
"I saw how unhappy you were, how disconnected you seemed from yourself. I had this feeling. I can't explain it. Just an intuition that you needed permission to explore something. I never imagined exactly this, but I knew you needed a doorway of some kind."
Jasmine stared at him.
"You knew?" "Not consciously, but somewhere deep down, maybe."
He smiled.
"I'm just glad it worked out."
"Some best man speech that would have made," she teased, blinking back tears. "Too emotional. I went with embarrassing college stories instead." The dance floor called them back, where Mark waited with an outstretched hand. Jasmine moved into his arms, her white gown flowing around her as they swayed to the music.
"Mrs. Evans,"
he murmured against her hair.
"Has a nice ring to it."
"It does," she agreed, feeling the weight of her new wedding band alongside her engagement ring. Looking around the reception, at the faces of those who loved her, Jasmine felt a profound sense of rightness. The journey from that birthday gift to this moment hadn't been easy, but every step had led her here, to authenticity, to love, to a life that finally felt like her own. Later that night, changing from her wedding gown into a simpler white dress for their departure, Jasmine caught sight of herself in the mirror. Her makeup was still perfect, her brown hair slightly looser from dancing. The woman who looked back at her was confident, joyful, complete. Jasmine touched the palette pendant, still around her neck, even on her wedding day. A reminder of beginnings, of courage, of transformation.
"Ready?"
Mark appeared in the doorway, handsome in his tuxedo. "Ready," Jasmine confirmed, taking one last look at her reflection before turning away. The woman in the mirror smiled back, recognizing herself completely. Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!